Do you want to know a tip? It's time in the market, not timing the market. Is now the best time to buy an investment property? Hey, it's Gary from Let Property. We help thousands of landlords every year exit and enter the buy-to-let property market through the sale of their tenanted properties. I personally own a multiple seven-figure property portfolio, and I'm here today to guide investors just like you through the path that I went down when investing in buy-to-let property. Today, I'm going to be weighing up for you whether you should be investing your money into property today or whether you should be holding off about a potential market crash or a bang that's going to cause you not to be successful in your property investment journey. I've personally been investing in property now for over 5 years, and from all of that time, I've made a lot of money in both the appreciation of the properties that I've owned and also the rental income on all of those properties. And I suppose one of the most fortunate things that I went through was that I grew up with my mother actually investing in property since I was 8 years old. I've seen countless investments that have been bought for very, very low prices and have later been sold for higher prices. And what I've learned through all of that is I've seen, literally remember the 2008 crisis. I remember everyone going crazy. And I remember all these events happening through the years. Even when my mum owned property, she used to even worry at points as well, where you would think, oh my God, that's the market, that's the property market crashing. And the reality is that if you look at things over a long enough time horizon, all of that stuff does not matter. The thing that scares most investors is that they'll read a headline or they'll see the news or they'll see what the interest rates are and they just get concerned and worried and they never actually take actions to invest in the first place because they're trying to time the market instead of having time in the market. One thing that I've learned is it's almost impossible to predict anything that's not in your control. So many people, what they try to do is they try to predict the best time to enter the market instead of having time in the market. If I just look at my own portfolio and I look at the last 5 years, I've genuinely made more money in the capital growth of all of those properties than the rental income I've received over all of those years. I think people don't truly understand the value in just owning and controlling property and having access to the upside that those properties generate. If you just look at a chart from the land registry, you will literally see the growth over the last 100 years within property. Even though there's been the 2008 crash and all these crazy events that have happened in history, literally property prices have always risen through thick and thin over the long term. And I think what's really, really important to remember is that if you're coming into property for quick wins, for a quick buck, then you're going to need to be very sophisticated to win at that game because that's a really, really hard game to play. However, if you're a wealthy individual and you're looking to invest your money in a safe place, it has been proven that property is one of the safest long-term places to put your money. One of the unique luxuries I suppose I get access to is speaking with thousands of landlords who are looking to sell their properties all the time. And one thing that just crazes me is the amount of people that have literally bought properties for a tenner 20 years ago and they're now selling them today for 100 grand, 200 grand, and they're just making so much growth on their property sitting here today. If you've not had your head under a rock in the last 2 years, you'll think the property market's crashing, everything's booming down, we're done. But that's not the case. In the last 2 years, property prices have still risen by 8.5%. Granted, not as much as they were during our COVID times, but they have risen by 8.5% in the last 2 years. So if you had bought property 2 years ago, it would have been 8.5% cheaper in the UK than it would be today. You literally have institutions like Lloyds Bank buying up homes by the thousands at the moment, building properties, adding new properties into the private rental sector, even though the media would not lead you to believe that this is actually happening. My best advice is someone who works in property and someone who has invested in property for a number of years is genuinely to focus on the stuff that you can control. Nobody knows if there's going to be a market crash next week. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the property market. As much as you read media headlines, there will always be opposing views on what will happen, and very often it will not be what you think. What you should do is you should focus on the factors of property investment that you can actually control and the things that you actually know you can get a tangible outcome from. So what does that mean? That means buying the right stock, for example. That means creating a very clear criteria so that you know what you're actually going to invest in. That means sticking to an investing strategy and analyzing it every single year to ensure that all of the properties in your portfolio that you're holding long term fit that criteria. By having a clear strategy and plan in place and investing for the long term, this is where successful property investors never go wrong, because they're focused on their own goals and they just think in the long term, and you never lose that way. So I hope this sums up my argument. It's never a bad time to buy. You just need to invest for the long term and have a clear strategy in place. I think it's a bad time to buy when you aren't clear about what it is you're planning to do and how you're going to do it, or you haven't got the right people in your corner to actually help you in that strategy. One of the biggest concerns that people have about investing in today's market is interest rates. Interest rates have risen over the last year to around 5%, and if you're getting a buy-to-let mortgage, that could be 6-7% in some cases as of the time of shooting this video today. Now, many investors pose the question, if you're buying a property that has a yield of, say, 7%, should I be buying an asset that is costing me 7% on a mortgage to actually purchase? Well, I say this back to you, okay? Imagine you look at your property investments like a business, because many people, they don't look at it this way. If you had a business that could not stand the test of time during a tough market when interest rates are higher, would you have a business? The success in property investing comes from how good you are at actually building your criteria, understanding what types of properties to buy that can actually stand the test of time during a high interest rate environment. Now, what you need to understand is that you're going to go through waves of investing where interest rates are going to be higher, they're going to be lower, they're going to be higher, they're going to be lower. Now, that comes to good debt management overall to ensure that you aren't over leveraged on your property investments. But second to that, what you need to ensure is that you have enough cash flow and enough yield in that portfolio to cover the payments of the interest payments with the rent. Provided you're able to do that, you'll actually experience large levels of growth in a high interest rate environment, because your property prices are going to rise after those interest rates come down. What happens when interest rates go up is prices of houses generally squeeze because people sell, they panic, they can't afford to pay their interest rate payments. Provided you can actually stay alive in an high interest rate environment, it means that you can actually thrive long term right after it. If you're a first-time investor, I recently shot a video on the secrets that first-time investors don't understand. Just click the link below and check it out.